So I think I'm going to put on some makeup here. Try to make myself feel a little better. And as a way to I don't know, keep myself focused on this makeup, I guess I'm going to do a video because I really don't like putting on makeup. I'm trying to make myself feel a little better. I don't know. So, I saw recently where some doctors have done videos and they're encouraging people to share their pain story. That's still really traumatic. I talk about a lot of things, but I don't talk about that. I get heart palpitations just even thinking about it. So, long story short, there was this crazy mystery illness that went on in my dad's family. Like, my grandmother had it. They always said she was mentally ill. They put her in a psych ward. They electroshocked her and all this shit. And it was a hush-hush situation that you didn't talk about, okay? Because it was mental health. Well, it wasn't mental health. Her mother, prior to that, now I don't know the circumstances. Apparently this can affect your vocal cords, but she literally stopped talking for 20 years. Intuitively, I feel that she also was afraid of getting locked up, and so she just shut down. My dad, began to complain of pain. I mean, for as long as I can remember, and it was in the early 90s that he was given the name fibromyalgia, and he was really excited about it because he thought that maybe, that meant that there was finally going to be an answer about this mystery family illness. You know what I'm saying? Well, of course, no progress has been made as far as that goes. And if you know anything about a fibromyalgia diagnosis, like doctors, half of them act like you're crazy and it's all in your head. Meanwhile, a masseuse and a chiropractor, they can always tell within minutes. I mean, I've seen, 30 masseuses in my life. Never had one that didn't ask me within a couple of minutes if I had fibromyalgia. I've had several ask me, most of them are genuinely astounded at how I get up and walk and function every day with the condition that my muscles are in, okay? They are so hard you can't tell between muscle and bone in many places. And, I knew something was wrong with me. I mean, my mom, I can remember her asking my pediatrician when I was small, why do her legs bruise up like that? And I can remember thinking, I just never thought my thighs, why are they so flabby? And all this stuff. And I am a textbook case of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. I have finally figured this out. I have not yet gotten the stupid Western medicine diagnosis. And I dread it. So, my ex-husband and I got in a really bad car wreck in 2004. The airbags deflated, seatbelt actually broke my ribs. I have a rib that sticks out from my sternum. And so, my rib cage, they can't really do anything for that kind of break, And so my rib cage, is not, I guess, the proper shape. And from that time on, about a year after that accident, I developed this pain in my back right here. And I've had it for 17 years now. And it does not go away. And it's this one humongous muscle knot. But anyways, I started having this pain, and it started just getting worse. It was moving all over my body. It was everywhere, and after seeing my dad, I realized, I've got what he does, And so this was 2006 when I started seeing doctors. Okay, so I started out at my PCP. You say the word pain around a primary care physician, and normally they run you out the door, especially if you're young, okay? They'll tell you, oh, you're too young to have pain. You look fine. It's all in your head. Do you do drugs? Are you drug seeking? So my PCP originally sends me to a physiatrist who is like some kind of muscle doctor or something. Now, I'm in West Virginia. We got piss poor medical care here. Like 50th in the nation. So, there's that. And, looking for my coffee. So, which I need to quit drinking coffee, but that's another matter. I'm working on it. So, anyhow, I start seeing her. She agrees that I've got some muscular problems and stuff, but oh well, basically is what she tells me. And she wants to keep seeing me, even though she's not doing nothing for me. And so, like, the third time seeing her, I said to her, I was like, well, is there something we can try? Could we try, like, a muscle relaxer? Could we try, is there massage? What treatments are available? Well, I said the word muscle relaxer, and she accused me, of course, of being a drug seeker. Now, this is 2006, okay? This is before opiates had stopped being written, but I guess that, they were starting to realize there were problems with it. It was in, 2009 or something that the Purdue Pharma settlement outlawed OxyContin. And, in West Virginia, during this opioid epidemic, there are less than 2 million people in West Virginia, and there were over 500 million opioid prescriptions prescribed here. Well, I can tell you what, I only got about 10 of them, okay? For some C-sections, a wisdom tooth removal, a tonsillectomy, and I think I got some pain pills after that car wreck when I broke my ribs, okay? So here I am in this thing. I've never had pain pills prescribed for anything other than surgical procedures, okay, and the one car wreck. And so I'd mentioned the word muscle relaxer. Now, and let's keep in mind that this woman, her sons, her twins, were in the same daycare class as my son. So I saw her every day in the daycare. So, I went to the upper class daycare. I was a lawyer's wife for years and had to portray this terrible image. Lord, that was awful. Anyways, so, well, I didn't have to. I chose to, or just get abused more, so whatever. But that's another matter. And then he is another problem in this, okay? Because he's it's all in your head. You're just, he's always just gaslit me. You're just trying to run up medical bills. I don't know why you're going to see all these doctors. There's nothing wrong with you. You're just sick in the head. There's nothing physically wrong. So anyways, so this woman, so I say, can we have a muscle, could I try a muscle relaxer? And this lady is like, well, you're just drug seeking, and I don't, prescribe narcotics. It's like, well, okay, first off, a muscle relaxer is not a narcotic. But beyond that, I tell you what I want you to do is I want you to leave this room. I want you to go pull my little board of pharmacy or whatever little reports you can pull. And then I want you to come back in here and tell me that I'm a no-good drug seeker, okay? That's what I want you to do. Well, she came back in with a prescription. Now, the muscle relaxer did not do anything, okay? So when I went back in there again, I'm like, I don't need more of those, It doesn't do anything. And, she's like, well, she just essentially insinuated that it was in my head and there was nothing that she could do. She never, ever, 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 ever evaluated me for anything other than fibromyalgia, which is what I suggested to her due to family history. She never looked into anything else. I do not recommend seeing Dr. Marietta Babayev, wherever in the hell she is. So I go back to the PCP. This guy recommends pain management. Okay, he's like, oh, well, it's got to be from that car wreck you were in. Why is my ankle hurting then when the brake was up here? But okay. And so he's like, well, go see this pain management doctor. So I go see this pain management guy. Now, he gave me something called Ultram or Tramadol or whatever. Didn't help a fucking thing. Now they say that stuff's narcotic. Well, that's not a narcotic. It's not even chemically a narcotic or an opiate or whatever, but that's what it's classed as. So that didn't help. And it's like, buddy, this ain't doing nothing. And so he's like, well, we can do trigger point injections. Oh, that was awful. That made the pain exponentially worse. So that didn't work either. And so he basically is just like, well, I don't know what to tell you. Okay, great. So at some point, I switched PCPs. So then she starts again with, okay, well, have you seen a neurologist? So I did that. He couldn't come up with anything. Even though I have had headaches, like most of my life. It's the Ehlers-Danlos. Anyways, so then I go to a rheumatologist. And they confirmed the fibromyalgia diagnosis that I had gotten from the physiatrist, but they never looked into anything further either. A freaking rheumatologist. A rheumatologist is who you're supposed to see if you suspect you have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Okay, great. So, at that point, I went to a chiropractor. My dad had struggled with this too, okay? So he was still living, and he was trying to prevent me from, having to go like the illegal pain pill route, things like that. And so he had asked me if I'd seen a chiropractor. I had not. So I did see the chiropractor. The chiropractor was actually the kindest of all that I had seen. But my insurance did not want to pay for that particular chiropractor. He was out of network, of course. So they send me to this other place. Well, this other place, they literally made the new patients come sit in a mandatory appointment that was a lecture that told everybody in that room from age 18 to 75 that we all had the same thing and that this would help. It was an utter cash cow. Had my life not imploded pretty shortly after that, like a year after that, I thought about reporting those people and trying to get them shut down. That was absolutely despicable what they were doing. I wonder if that place is still open. Anyways, so by this point, it's like 2013. My pain has progressed to the point that, because I had another baby. Now, what was interesting about it is when I was pregnant with my second child, the pain really lessened a lot. It exponentially was worse with my son. And then with my third, it actually lessened a lot. Both of the later pregnancies were girls, and then the other was boys. I bet their hormones actually helped me, is what I'm intuitively thinking. But anyways, so here we are, 2013, and I was working for the state. I was an accountant at the Division of Justice, managing Purdue Pharma, OxyContin combat money here, okay? That was what I did. And it had to all be spent. And that's the thing. They did this huge settlement for Purdue Pharma and stuff. Every bit of that money had to be spent on law enforcement to combat the war on drugs, when prohibition does nothing but kill. An unsafe supply increases overdose. Just, it always works that way. In countries where there are no illegal drugs, you can just go buy whatever over the counter, they don't have these drug problems, okay? I never got on opiates to get high. Never. I was trying to keep myself from killing myself. And I had tried going the legal route. I mean, for years, I got gaslit. I was abused at home for saying I was in pain. I was abused at home for freaking running up doctor's bills and all this stuff and everything. I told him right before everything imploded, if you do not let me quit my job, I mean, something bad's going to happen. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm on the verge of a breakdown. He did not care. Okay? None of these doctors cared. So anyhow, I did end up, a co-worker of mine saw what kind of misery I was in, and she gave me pain pills. Okay? And that just, I mean, and it did help. It helped so much. And so, it became this monster. And then a year later, I was in a rehab. And unfortunately, 8 months after that, I found medically assisted treatment, methadone maintenance. And methadone maintenance has treated my pain better than anything else ever did. And so I've been able to live a fairly functional life. Now, that being said, I am chronically ill. I have chronic pain. When I say fairly functional life, I mean that I can participate in activities with my children for the most part without having to tell them that I'm in pain or mom can't do it or, what have you. I can run them to school and give them a bath and do the things that I need to do. Have I ever been able to, go swim with them at the water park? No. The water feels like absolute knives. I can get in a hot tub. That's it. Have I ever been able to go sit on bleachers at baseball games and soccer games and all that stuff for hours and hours and hours every week? No. Do what I can. But the thing that really infuriates me the most is my ex-husband and Western medicine. My ex-husband, our son broke his back when he was 14 playing soccer, stress fracture. It's because he's also textbook Ehlers-Danlos. He played piano for 12 years and he was very good. And I just recently learned that one of the reasons he was so good is because he could dislocate all of his fingers, and so he had a really great reach. He could even turn his pinky 180 degrees. See, because I just really feel like if I would have been taken seriously in 2006, that it could have been figured out that I had a verifiable genetic disorder. I mean, there are 14 types, and all but 13 of the 14 are verifiable. And I know which one our family has. We've got 2 of them, and one of them is verifiable. But I gave up. I gave up looking. After I found pain treatment, I mean, and I really did. I mean, I guess I was kind of resigned to the fact that, I do have fibromyalgia. I mean, and I do. But I didn't realize that the fibromyalgia, which is muscle rigidity, your muscles just become like rope-like structures that spasm. They do not lay flat. But mine are like that because they're trying to stabilize my joints. They're trying to stabilize all my joints. Now I know why I pop and crack like a freaking whatever. I even have the elephant paw hands. There are certain knuckles, they're called elephant paws. And this is what they look like. My teeth fell out in like 10 years. Now, granted, methadone does harm people's teeth. I mean, I've seen that too many times with too many people. I mean, you know, but one of the reasons it did mine maybe so severely is because of lesser bone density. That's why my son's spine broke. And you know, and when his spine breaks, we took him out of state to Ohio State to try to get him better treatment. And freaking those doctors are like, well, you know, that's kind of weird that his spine broke and he has a cyst bigger than anybody I've ever seen. Then they do physical therapy and it breaks the other side of his back. But they never thought to check him for any kind of other condition. So I mentioned to my husband, their dad, that, you know, I'm a textbook case of this, and I'm working on getting a diagnosis, or I'm going to have to work on getting a diagnosis for these kids so that you can take me seriously. Because our middle daughter does tumbling, and if she has this, she cannot do tumbling. And I think all three kids are, I see symptoms in all of them. If something happens to her, I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep from killing him this time. I mean, I'm serious. I absolutely dread having to go back to Western medicine. I'm going to have to compile a freaking notebook this thick with a timeline of symptoms and probably education for the doctor that these are actually symptoms of this. Because when you go on the Ehlers-Danlos Society in West Virginia, there's not one doctor recommended. Now, I have talked to my therapist about this, and she actually looked into for me to try to find some doctors in West Virginia. And she did find somebody at Marshall University that wrote a paper on Ehlers-Danlos. And so I'm going to go in next week, and she's going to get that name for me, I think is what she said. And I'm going to, might look this person up. I mean, I'll volunteer to be a guinea pig or something. My son's supposed to be going to college in Tulsa, and there are several specialists out there. And I told him, you just need to tell him that your mom has been diagnosed with this so that they just don't give you the rigmarole. And just say you don't know which type, but, you know, it has something to do with collagen. And that's what Ehlers-Danlos is. You don't produce enough collagen from birth, and so when the body stops producing collagen, or it greatly diminishes or something, I don't know if it totally stops producing it, but by 30 years old, people start to lose collagen. And, you know, so our pain progressively gets worse. And for the first, like, 4 or 5 years that I was on methadone, I really felt like I was in my 20s again, you know. But in the past couple years, I've really been feeling bad. I mean, I'm actually, one other thing I'm going to talk to my counselor about is potentially taking my dose down some and seeing if the pain increases or not. I mean, it does give me pain relief. I took it at 6 this morning, and I feel okay right now. I mean, this is like the only time of the day. Like, I'll feel okay for like 6 hours, and then I have to rest. I can't. Dealing with physical limitations has been very hard for me, and I did not live as if I were disabled. I did some hard living, pushed it real hard, and I know I've got damage, and emotional and physical. But we just need to stop assuming that people are fine just because they look fine. And you know, I see these people, like these Karens, that like get on the internet and like somebody will be in a wheelchair and then they can get up and walk and people are like, oh, you don't need that wheelchair, you're just faking. Oh my word. There are conditions where people can walk but still need a wheelchair. I rented one of those wheelchair things when we went to Kings Island in 2013, and my ex-husband was so embarrassed. We had to leave. I mean, like, it ruined the whole day. He didn't like his own mother for being disabled. And I just think it's real funny how karma comes around. So here I marry this man who, unbeknownst to me at the time, his dad was married to his mother. They had my husband and his sister. They were 2 and 4 years old. She got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. His dad was a law professor at WVU. And he just died recently. But anyways, he was a professor up there. And this woman gets diagnosed with MS. And so he's like, oh, whoa, I'm not staying married to somebody sick. No. Divorces her and then marries one of his law students with a 2 and 4 year old. The exact same age as my husband and his sister. I mean, to the point that these kids actually had to go through school together in the same grade, okay? And so then these huge resentments got set up because here Jim went and raised these 2 kids and just left his own pretty much. I mean, I think he saw them some, but he certainly wasn't, And I'm sure Alex's mother was where Alex has to get his condescending negativity. He does not get that from his dad, and it is clearly genetic because it's in my daughter. I mean, since birth. It's even in my son some, but he's a lot more like me, fortunately. So, yeah. Anyways, I mean, the very first time I meet Jim McLaughlin, he asked me what my IQ score was, and he told me that he married his wife because he thought she had good genes. And she was tall. He wanted tall kids. My son is only like 5'7", probably because of his back break. But that don't mean he's not a force of nature, I can tell you that. So yeah, generational trauma has this way of coming back around. So here Alex goes and basically marries a disabled woman, doesn't realize it, and potentially has 2 disabled children. Now, the question is, will you support or abandon your children like you did your mother? Literally abandoned her. I mean, didn't even go see her for 6 years before she died. I don't know. I never met her. She was dead before. Wish I had. If I had, I probably wouldn't have married him, so. Which, I don't know. I'll do anything in my power to keep my kids from being treated the way I have. I can tell you that. Whatever it takes. I guess that's my pain story for now. It's like 28 minutes, dear God. Have a good one.